Welcome to the fifth interview in our series recognizing former women's athletes, coaches, and administrators from CCIW institutions. My name is Mike Krizman, and I serve as the CCIW's Assistant Executive Director. The series is part of the conference's 75th anniversary celebration, and we continue with former Wheaton student athlete and current women's tennis coach, Jane Nelson. Jane, thank you for joining us this evening.
My pleasure, Mike. Happy to do it and glad to represent Wheaton in the CCIW.
1983 Wheaton graduate, Nelson was a Division III tennis All-American during her career. As a freshman, she was the AIAW Division III National Flight 3 Singles Champion and was named an AIAW Division III All-American. As a junior, she was a doubles runner-up in the NCAA Division III National Tournament and helped lead Wheaton to a third-place team finish. She also led the Wheaton basketball team in scoring and was team captain in her junior and senior seasons. Nelson ranks in the top 15 in Wheaton history in scoring, field goals, free throw percentage, rebounds, steals, and assists. Nelson has coached the Wheaton women's tennis program since 1986. During that time, she's led her team to 22 CCIW titles, 10 CCIW tournament titles, 12 NCAA postseason appearances, and has been named Conference Coach of the Year 9 times. She was inducted into Wheaton's Athletic Hall of Honor in 1994 for achievements in women's basketball and tennis, and along with the entire 1982 women's tennis team that received induction in October of 1997. So I'll start off by asking, when you reflect on your time as a student athlete at Wheaton back in the early to mid 80s, what do you take away most from that experience?
Well, I'd have to say probably relationships, just great relationships with my teammates. We had some fun times together, I think, and some of those people that I played sports with at Wheaton are still my good friends today. And we shared some experiences, obviously just at practice, working hard together and competing at our sport, but also off the field of play, just the fun on road trips, in the dining room together, and just all those experiences that you share. I think a lot of student athletes would say that the thing you miss so much is the team environment and all those relationships. So it goes on in the locker room and away from the competition. So I think that was probably the biggest part of my experience and what I treasure the most. I also obviously love the opportunity as a female to get a chance to compete. That was the time in our country when things were changing for female athletes. So the doors that were starting to open, getting cracked open, gave me some opportunities that I wasn't expecting to have, and that was a thrill too. So the opportunity to just play on a team with other young women who love the same sports that I did.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I kind of want to piggyback on that for a second there. What's different for women's teams now compared to when you were a tennis and basketball student athlete? You talked about how things were changing at the time, but how have they progressed since when you were playing?
Yeah, my team is probably tired of hearing me say this. I tell them all the time, you guys don't know how good you have it. Mm-hmm. When I was in middle school, Mike, there was one girls sports team, and that was it, just a volleyball team. That's all we had. So I played on the volleyball team because I love sports. When I was in high school, things were changing a little bit. We had some better opportunities. When I came to Wheaton, there were big differences between the way the women's athletic department was run and the men's athletic department, and that was kind of common across our country. We played in a smaller gym. Our training room and locker rooms were kind of makeshift. They were in the basement of the smaller gym. Funny thing, when at least for my first 2 years on the women's basketball team, I had my shirt was from one set of uniforms and my shorts were from another set of uniforms because they didn't have enough stuff that went around that everybody could get the right size and the same thing. But hey, we were just thrilled that we all had uniforms at that point. So a lot of that has changed. I have to compliment Wheaton College. They've done a great job with treating our female athletes well. And all of this really started when I became a coach. That was about the time that this really changed. And a lot of credit for us with tennis. This will be of interest to people who follow the CCIW. Jack Schwartz, who was our former athletic director and was a CCIW commissioner and was also our men's tennis coach. And he was the men's tennis coach when I became the women's tennis coach. And he really helped get our two tennis programs the same. When I came in, our women didn't have the same opportunities that the men had. And he saw that and really wanted to change that and helped me make that happen. And I'm very proud and pleased to say today we have great programs for both our male and female athletes at Wheaton. but yeah, the times have changed. The opportunities are just there. There weren't opportunities. Now I will say, and I know I'm sure, I know Lori Kern said the same thing that I'm going to say now. I'm so thankful, as she had expressed, for the coaches that I had coming up, because back then it was truly a labor of love. These women were not making any money coaching. They were doing it to give those that were coming behind them an opportunity to play sports that we loved. And so I'm so thankful and grateful for my high school coaches and my college coaches as well. And you do feel a sense of responsibility to carry on keep the torch lit that they started and really carry on a wonderful tradition. So I'm very grateful and thankful. And yeah, it's just the unbelievable opportunities that female athletes have now. All athletes have the same opportunities, and that's great to see.
So you came into coaching right when the CCIW began sponsoring women's athletics. How did that help move Wheaton athletics and women's athletics forward as a whole?
Yeah, that was a fun time to start, because my first year was the first year they had a CCIW women's tennis championship. And that was a good move on the part of the conference, opening those doors up for female athletes. And that made a big difference. When I think back, and when I was playing tennis and basketball at Wheaton, there were kind of some makeshift conferences just from some teams in the Chicago area that would try to set something up for us so we could have some good competition. But to have something organized, set up the same way as what the guys had, wonderful for our sports. And it's continued to be a great tradition. The conference has done a good job, expanding those opportunities. And so I think that was pretty instrumental for the schools that were in our conference. I think they would all say that really made a difference for the women's athletics. It's the same schools that are in it now. And so it was a great opportunity, and I'm glad the conference did that. And I'm thankful that I started right when that happened too, because it really made a difference compared to when I was a student athlete myself.
So what steps led you to coaching tennis, and what's kept you in the profession for the past 35 years?
Yeah, when I majored in physical education, and I knew that I wanted to do some coaching when I graduated, but I never, ever thought about coming back and coaching at Wheaton. I don't know why that didn't come to my mind, but it wasn't something that I had a goal of that being, my dream job or something like that. And oddly enough, my sister happened to run into my former college tennis coach in the grocery store one day. And she mentioned to my sister that the coach at Wheaton, the women's tennis coach, was going to be leaving, and would I have any interest in the job? And my sister said, she might, I don't know. And so my sister gave my former coach my phone number to hand off to our athletic director, then Tony Ladd. And a couple of days later, I got a call from him telling me the position was open. Would I want to just come and have lunch together and talk about it a little bit, which I did. And I guess that was my interview. And I guess it went okay, because the next day he called and offered me the job, and I was very happy to take it. It was a surprise to me. I think you said what's kept me in the coaching now for all this time. First, it's fun to see the athletes improve. Any coach loves to see improvement on the field or on the court, because of the hard work the athletes are putting in. So I enjoy that side of it, but also just the wonderful relationships with the young women who've been in our program. Having the opportunity to mentor them and really just see the growth in their lives as athletes, but also as people for the 4 years that they're in our program. And I've enjoyed at Wheaton the opportunity for a little spiritual mentoring as well, which is a big part of our program. But it's just great I guess I would describe it as a privilege and a pleasure to work with the athletes. It's the young women that have kept me in our program. Every year at Christmas time, I get a bunch of Christmas cards from my alums with pictures of their families telling me what they're doing. And that keeps me going. If I'm thinking about retiring, I get all those cards and I'm like, maybe I can do it one more year. So yeah, it's the young women. They've really made a difference.
Good deal. So did you have any advice maybe for any women's student athletes that maybe have an interest in coaching? I know you've had a lot of former players serve as assistants under you. What advice would you give to any current student athletes that would want to be a coach?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, just enjoy the experience. Because I'm coming from a place where I didn't get those experiences as like they're getting now. So really to enjoy it and take advantage of it, enjoy the relationships with your teammates, and have fun. Then I would say too, give it your best effort. So you're not going to look back with regrets. This is the prime of your athletic life. And so, working hard and putting in that effort so that you can really look back and feel like you've accomplished something. And then looking for opportunities to develop leadership skills. I think sports gives so many of those wonderful opportunities, and those you can use for the rest of your life in other settings.
Mhm.
So what you can learn from the experience, and then just a grateful and thankful heart, I guess, to those that are helping you have the experience. I think of the training staff, the assistant coaches, the support personnel, and making sure you don't miss out on, you're getting a great experience, but other people are making that possible. So having an attitude of gratitude, I guess, as well. Yeah, I think that's what I would say, to enjoy it, but to put in the effort, and then to be grateful as well.
Well, Jane, I want to thank you for your time this evening, and wish you the best of luck this spring, and hope all goes well.